3 p.m. and I'd like to welcome everyone to this class. This is all about light therapy, and I have been doing light therapy for 25 years. I was actually doing light therapy for 5 years prior to, at least 5 years prior to my getting the Chromalife pen light. So welcome everybody for joining us. My name is Susanne Murphy and I am your color, chakra, and aura expert. And today I'm going to take you on a journey to learn more about light therapy. So in this class, and I'm just going to take you through a little bit of a slideshow presentation here, but in this class we're going to be talking about what is light therapy, ways to balance the chakra system with the corresponding colors, how the various colors of light will help you to heal faster, and different types of color therapy treatments using the light therapy. And I've been teaching light therapy for 20 years now, and anyways, I use the pen light daily. I used it this morning, and I'll share some of my little tips with you of what I do with light therapy. Now, I'll just take you back a little in history. When I first started doing light therapy, I didn't have the Chromalife, so I had an old-fashioned light therapy system with filters and light behind it, and it was actually quite crazy because I was burning through filters. This light would heat up where literally it would be so hot I couldn't use it for extended periods of time. And as soon as I got introduced to the Chromalife, I was blown away because all of a sudden I understood that it was the crystal tip that amplified the light therapy treatment, that my 20-minute per organ treatments then got shortened down to 3 minutes per organ. So for me, that was just awesome that I could, start working more simply with light therapy, not have to cart around this big machine with all these filters and not worrying about burning myself or starting a fire or anything that, could have happened at that time. And I could tell you, I did leave it on one time, and it was quite serious. So I'm very happy that now I work with the Chromalife to do light therapy. Okay, so we're going to jump in, and what is light therapy? So research has shown that our cells not only radiate color, but they also receive color. And it was the German physicist Dr. Fritz Albert Popp that learned our cells contain biophotons, and biophotons are both light receptors and light transmitters, meaning our cells actually vibrate at a light frequency and they absorb light frequency. This is why light therapy is, to me, all-encompassing. And light works at the speed of light. There's nothing any faster than that. Plus, light penetrates mass where sound will bounce off of mass. And this is why I choose to use light therapy over sound therapy, although I dabble in sound therapy as well. I have tuning forks and some other apparatuses. I work with music therapy on a different level, but nonetheless, to me, it's that light quanta. It works at the speed of light. It penetrates into the cell, it gets to the cell, and the cell recognizes it because it's the same language of communication. And this is one of the things when we go into color therapy and light therapy, this is the universal language. Everybody understands color. Everybody understands that without light we don't exist. So light is a universal language. And we can use the reflex zones or acupressure points or acupuncture points as a point of entry. And just so you know, research has been done where if the light is tonated in this area, that any organ exit point that is connected to that point where you're doing the light therapy will actually, the light therapy will travel to that point, and that exit point will actually extend the same vibration of the point of entry of vibration. Okay, I hope that makes sense. But what we're saying here is that if I tonate this zone with the red light, and that signal, that nanometer, travels via my energy matrix throughout my body, that anywhere else in my body, whether it's the face, the vertebra on my spine, whether it's the exit point on the soles of my feet, will also energetically emit the same frequency that I'm tonating with. This is how light travels so quickly in our body through our energy matrix. Okay, and as I mentioned, biophotons not only give off light, but they're receptive and react to light and its individual colors. And we have to think of it in the way that our body is pulsating frequencies. This is what encompasses our totality of our being. Every organ and gland literally beats to its own vibration. Our lungs expand and contract while our heart is pumping. So here we have these different vibrations that are in our body. Every thought that we have emits a vibration. Every mood we're in emits a vibration. So literally we're projecting all these different color vibrations. But when internally an organ is broken, damaged, blocked, whatever you want to call it, that means the vibration is off. And because we have all these different organs, it's like different instruments of an orchestra. Each organ is playing its own, musical note, and together it creates this beautiful symphony. But if one musical instrument is off key, you can imagine how it can be destructive to the whole. So we then need to find that key or that note that's off, and using the language of color, we can then shift the vibration of that organ. Isn't that amazing? This is why I love light therapy. This is why I love doing color therapy, because the color language is the language of light, and this is what our body understands. We are light beings. I'll also share with you, because I'm going to be talking about the biopulsar. I use the biopulsar to examine, or rather, I use the biopulsar to scan the vibration of every organ and gland in the body, and then I can see the color frequency. And it was Edgar Cayce that predicted there would be an instrument that would be developed in our lifetime that would measure the frequency of the organs and show the organ health in color. This is exactly what we're doing now. This is medicine of the future, working with the frequency of the organ, and then to balance the organ, we use the appropriate color to create that resonating frequency, like I mentioned, creating that the vibration that will put that organ back into the correct, key. Okay. Now on the next page, Chromalife Reflex Zone Stimulation. So our hands, as well as other parts of our body, our face included, can be gently treated using light therapy. And using the Chromalife pen light, we can apply light pressure and do a massage at the same time we do a color therapy treatment. So any hardenings, any tension, anything that is out of whack will, dissolve and go back into harmony. And, I just have to show you how magnificent this product is. This tool, like literally look at how bright it is. And the crystal tip is amplifying the frequency. This is what crystals do. They amp up the vibration. And so we use we use crystals in computer chips because it helps to create that conduit of frequency to get information conveyed. And in fact, one time I was watching a science show and they were talking about the new information highway will be color. So we're talking about now taking that, white light or that vibration to that next level, even in the computer industry. Again, things like that just blow me away, because then I go, wow, we're, pioneers. We're on the cutting edge of doing light therapy. Now, a reflex zone is similar to a tunnel. So when we do the color therapy, it will go into that tunnel, and then of course it travels via our energy matrix, and it will go to any area of the body that is connected to that point. But also, what we see on our hand is a mirror image of our health. And I remember I was doing this one client, and he had a divot right where his heart organ was. And I was doing the light therapy on that divot to try to get that expression of energy stronger. And it ended up within a couple months, he had a problem with his breathing. And when they took him to the hospital, it was discovered that he had a problem with his heart. and it showed on his hand before he even knew it. Now, of course, I also had the biopulsar, so I could see that his heart was weak to begin with, and that's why I was doing the light therapy treatment on that location, because when you invest in our Chromalife pen light, you do get a chart, and on this chart it tells you where every organ and gland is on your hand. So when you're doing a treatment, then you'll know the correspondence. So even if I didn't have the biopulsar, I could have matched up where that divot was to see that that was his heart organ, and that's where the problem was. And this is what trained reflexologists do, but often they're taught how to treat, you know, the soles of the feet, but our hands have all the reflex zones. Our face has the reflex zones. The top of our head has the reflex zones. Going down our spine, every vertebra is connected to an organ as well. So we have these maps on our whole body that are a gateway into everything that's going on with our body. And of course, I often treat the hand because it's the easiest. All I have to do is cleanse the hand, which I can do with aura cleanser or, you know, a natural floral water like eucalyptus or tea tree. I cleanse the hand, and then that way I can perform the light therapy treatment, you know, on a clean hand, versus if you're working on the feet with the Chromalife or doing light therapy, then you would want to, you know, cleanse the feet, which, you know, when people have shoes on, it's just a little bit more messier, I guess, is the the word that I think of to say. But you know, we can treat the face if we're wanting to go into the aging component, and I'll talk a little bit more about this if we have time later. Now, because our hand is a mirror image of what's going on internally, again, we can just simply treat the hand, and that will treat the internal organ. Now, we can also treat directly on the internal organ, which when we do that, what happens is we're charging that organ, or we're you know, sedating that organ, depending if that organ is hyperactive or hypoactive. We're treating directly on that organ as close as we can, which then, as the organ gets stronger, it extends the energy outwards, so eventually the hand will also feel the effect of the energy treatment. Or we can treat the hand and it charges the energy pathways back to the organ. So I tell everyone it's potato. You know, obviously it's best to treat, you know, the area that has the disharmony first, but if you can't do that, then, you know, treating indirectly through the surface of the hand is the next best thing. Okay. Now, through a calculated treatment of the energetic color, the body cell can be optimally nourished with the right energy and vibration. And we're going to talk about how can you diagnose to determine what color to treat. Now, we do have a home study program which goes into a lot more detail, because this is just a 1-hour class. Again, I'm going to share with you a lot of information, but if you really want to do light therapy, you know, and you either have the Chromalife or you don't have, and you want to take it to the next level, and you haven't invested in the home study program, I highly recommend it, because it will just catapult your learning that much faster. But through the radiation, and Auramed uses the word radiation, which literally is indicating that we're, you know, treating that area with light therapy. I call it tonation, but radiation, tonation, same thing. So by using the right color therapy on that reflex zone or acupuncture point, or, you know, any energy pathway that we choose, we can actually then correct the incorrect frequency. And the body has a norm, every organ has a norm, and so what we're looking at is how can we determine if that person's norm is out of sorts, and that takes a little bit of work to get there. Now, subsequently, the physical, emotional, and mental blockages can dissolve, and a sense of well-being can be restored. And I remember Martina telling me, or sharing with me, a couple stories. And because she came here and she actually taught a course on Chromalife therapy, I was also witness to different things that had transpired during the training. But when we treat people with light therapy, often there's a shift in consciousness, and that could include, you know, on a mental level, emotional level, as well as the spiritual level, on top of the physical shifts that can happen. So, you know, when we're doing, for example, anti-aging facials, often people will see the results on their face, but they'll also come back to me saying things like, wow, you know what, after the treatment I felt so energetically positive that I had no bouts of depression, and normally I'm suffering from depression 2 to 3 times a week. When I hear stories like that, how it's impacting the emotions as well as the physicality, again, it just shows you the depth that the light therapy can reach into. So next page. What is Chromalife color therapy? Now, because of the awakening of all these natural modalities that are often what we would consider, viewpoints from ancient civilizations, we're kind of coming around again and wanting to go more natural, because we understand that when we're not doing things naturally, it becomes foreign invaders for the body, and then the body has to fight another fight. Where if we can keep the body clean and work with natural modalities like herbs, crystals, essential oils and things as such, then we can get to the root cause and fix that, and not have to rely on these other things that are only what I call temporary band-aids. So, as we understand more about the healing factor of light therapy, then those of us who are doing light therapy will be more recognized as, being able to treat multidimensionally. And I love that, because I do know how profound light therapy is. Now, optimum health and vitality comes through self-awareness and balance of the body, mind, and soul. And because of this holistic health movement, there is a renewed interest in all these sciences. And I don't want to say I dabble in different arts, but to me it's all encompassing, because color is part of Chinese medicine. Color is part of, the concept of Ayurvedic medicine. Color is part of, the Afro-American and the Aboriginal cultures. So we can look at color extenuating into all kinds of philosophies. I think the language of color then brings everything together, so that way it makes it easier to understand by the layman. So because I'm not licensed in acupuncture or Chinese medicine, I still work with color as if I was, but I do it differently. So anybody out there who does different therapies, we can use that language of light accordingly to your teachings, but modify it so it merges with what you're doing. And Chromalive light therapy is a combination of various sciences. So we can look at the science of reflex zone therapy, we can look at the science of color, we can look at the science of crystalline energy. So it encompasses quite a few different sciences in its modality. And what I love about it is it's non-invasive, meaning we don't have to have people undressed to actually be able to do a light therapy treatment on someone. And of course, because of the fact that, we're treating, for example, the hand, people will see the results even, on their hand, their face. So it becomes very exciting that people can see these energetic shifts, on a physical level. And when we're treating, it's the activation of an organ that we're doing by performing that color tonation directly above the organ or on corresponding face, ear, hand, or feet reflex zones. Okay? And I remember one time I went to an acupuncturist that specialized in doing pressure point stimulation on the ears. So again, depending on your training, if you're a practitioner, then you can use the pen light as such. Now, when I first started, I wasn't using light therapy as a practitioner. I was doing it for my own research and benefits. I did all kinds of weird things at the beginning. I was sleeping under colored lights. I even tell a story of my cat got into a cat fight, and it ended up that the other cat scratched his eye, and it ended up getting infected, and all of a sudden he had this very pussy eye, and I could tell something obviously was wrong, and I rushed him to the veterinary emergency clinic, and the vet said he had an abscess in his eye and it was quite serious. And I went, okay, well, what do you recommend? And he said, well, we'll just have to wait and see what happens. And I went, well, I'm an alternative practitioner. Is there anything you can recommend? And he said, well, I heard that ginkgo is supposed to be good for the eye, so maybe you want to help supplement your cat's diet with some ginkgo. And so I did that, but of course, you know, being into color therapy, what I started doing is I started tonating his eye. And as you become more familiar what each color means on a healing level, I knew right away that, you know, that indigo blue light will help to shrink. And so because the abscess was an open wound in his eye, I started tonating his eye with the color indigo. And within a few days, I already knew things were better because he could close his eye, because initially he couldn't close his eye, and I could see the pus clearing up quite quickly. And by the time I took him back to the vet's office, I already knew that the abscess had shrunk. And when I went to the vet just couldn't believe that the abscess had actually disappeared and said, "I don't know what you did, but whatever you did worked." And he continued to tell me that the last time he saw an abscess in an animal eye, they actually removed the animal's eye because they couldn't fix it. So here, you know, I have a personal story of my little kitty cat at the time, you know, having this extreme condition and being able to reverse it doing light therapy. When I first got the Chromalife as well, my mom had a batch of eczema on her leg. I did one 10-minute blue light treatment, and the next day she came into my office unexpectedly, which surprised me, and told me she wanted to borrow my Chromalife pen light because her eczema, the redness had gone down and the itchiness had disappeared. And she had this eczema for almost 1 year, no medication, nothing that was being done on a mainstream medical level was helping her. And then within one treatment, she noticed a difference. Within 1 week, her eczema totally disappeared. So again, am I a believer in light therapy? Absolutely. I use it. I actually try to use it daily myself. If anything crops up, right away I'm doing the light therapy based on the symptom. I use it, you know, with my family, my friends, and I could share with you dozens of personal stories about how I know that the Chromalife pen light, I'm going to use the word cured the situation. So now we're going to go on to the different effects of color on the body and spirit. Because we know each color has a certain wavelength, that wavelength will influence our body and that we can use it for harmonizing. And that means when we use a color, we're either going to use it to sedate the energy because the energy is hyperactive, or we're going to use it to speed up the energy because the energy is hypoactive. And there's different things we can look at just quickly as to what would define that. For example, when there is a sluggishness, like if you're feeling sluggish, tired all the time, you would need a fast energy to counterbalance your sluggishness, your slow energy. Similarly, if somebody is hyperactive, we would use a color frequency that would actually pull the energy down to create balance. So we would take that hyperactive energy and we would sedate it using a color frequency that would help in that case. So we're just going to briefly go through the several colors that we use in light therapy so you understand a bit about the color quality. So red, for example, is energy quality, is life force, fire, heat, activity, and movement. So when I'm looking at a client and I can see that the skin tone is white, that's indicating to me that there could be an energetic jam, and so therefore the energy movement isn't happening. So I would use red to warm up that organ because it would be cool to the touch. And because I ask my clients permission if I can touch them, if I touch that area of the body that's white and I feel that part of the body is cold or cool, then I'm going to use the red light. And here's another example. A lot of people suffer from cold hands and cold feet. And because I've been doing color therapy for 27 years, I could tell you in my experience of treating thousands of people that is indicating that their root chakra and their red energy is weak. So in this case, I would be doing a red stimulation of the root chakra, using the red light specifically for that, and I would be prescribing the client to do a whole bunch of red things. And as a Chromalife practitioner, I give you a lot of my practitioner handouts that I've developed over the years. And in fact, I did bring my booklet of all these handouts that I've created over the years. I'm going to be sharing more with my Chromalive users soon, because I've created some new handouts that I know that everybody's going to appreciate. But you're not alone when you invest in our Chromalive system. I give you a lot of different things that will help be a catalyst to you working with the pen light, whether it's for your own use or whether or not you're investing in the pen light for business. But nonetheless, to me, when somebody has, low vitality, they need that red energy to stimulate their, organism. And it could be just one organ, it could be their whole, their whole physical vitality. Now, spiritually, red is about vitality, energy, drive, excitement, and I'm taking this from some of Martina's materials, who is the inventor of the Chromalife pen light, and I look at the spiritual component of red being our existence. So when an organ or when we're lethargic, then we need to get more grounded in our body and actually experience life. Now, the physical effect affects the mesoderm, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, which is the middle germ layer of the embryo, and the mesenchyme, which is the embryonic connective tissue. And again, I don't understand everything on a scientific level about light therapy, but I know that red light stimulates, so that's how I use it. And in light therapy, red light is used a lot when tissue is dead or not very vital. We use red light in a lot of anti-aging protocols, and in the treatment on the face, red light is used a lot, because wherever, for example, there's a wrinkle is indicating the life force is weak. And this is why as we get older, we get more wrinkles, because our life force is actually, starting to decay. However, that being said, when you're into light therapy, then what you want to do is you want to use light therapy every day, so this way you have that youthful expression in all your organs. And this is one of the reasons why I use light therapy daily, because I understand how amazing it is to revitalize the cells that might be aging in my own body. Now, red is strongly stimulating, it's accelerating, strengthening. It increases the heart rate and the pulse rate. And this is why we have to be careful using red around the heart area, unless, again, people are suffering from, hypoactivity in the heart area. And you have to really understand, treating on a medical level, either by using the biopulsar, which is giving you that evidence of what's going on energetically in the different organs and glands, or you have to be trained in some sort of therapy to work on that physical level. Now, we can use red light to increase the blood pressure, and it also helps to build up the red cells. Now, when you have your Chromalife pen light, and for any of you older Chromalife users, if you don't have this chart, let me know and I'm happy to send it to you. But this is my gold, because on here it teaches you all these different things about the different colors that in somewhat is what we're going through, but it even goes into more specific information about each color and how it works energetically. So red is that stimulating, warming, expanding, and invigorating color, which is exactly what we're talking about. But red also helps to build the blood. And if you watched one of my other videos where I talk about Chromalife, a medical doctor had told me that he was using the yellow light in clients' belly buttons because the blood circulates through the belly button every 15 minutes. And I thought, well, that's brilliant. And he proceeded to tell me he did that to clean the blood. And yellow light will actually kill parasites. So for people who have dirty blood, a lot of parasitic activity, that's an excellent protocol of, using that yellow light in the belly button for 15 minutes. But then I started thinking about, well, geez, if people are lethargic and their blood is weak, we can use the red light to stimulate the blood the same way. So I actually have different protocols of using the lights for working on the blood. We know red supports the circulation, and this is why when people have cold hands and cold feet, we need to actually use the red energy to stimulate the circulation. and it's dilating, blood building, it's a diuretic, it stimulates breathing, it dissolves congestion and enhances circulation, and increases tolerance to pain, and it helps strengthen the immune system by overall stimulating the body as a whole. Pretty wowzer, eh? I mean, when you look at the things that color therapy can do, it's mind-blowing. Every color can treat on hundreds of different levels, and of course the more consciousness you have of the color language, and this is why we teach about color therapy. We have all our different courses that teach you different aspects of color healing, because you have to understand these principles. And so we do also have a basic color course, which is a 2-month program where you learn the basic essentials of color therapy, where our Chromalife correspondence course is specific to obviously operating the Chromolive pen light. Now, the orange energy is also a warm color, and when we think about colors, red, orange, and yellow are more warming in nature. Red being the hottest of all those 3 colors, where yellow being the coolest warming color of the 3. Whereas when we look at blue, indigo, violet, those are naturally cooling colors. Okay, and it has to do with the wavelength, which again, you know, we're constricted of time here, so I'm just in a nutshell, you know, trying to teach you as much as possible. Now, orange is also an antispasmodic, and several years ago I had a client who had a muscle spasm in their backside and the back of their chest region. And they had been going to different practitioners. They weren't getting the relief. They were having a lot of problems. They weren't able to stand straight. They were hunched over because of the muscle spasm. And so I had her, you know, as well as she could, lie on my massage table. And what I did was I started working on the meridian line relating to that specific point where the muscle spasm was. And I just used the orange light, and I went from the top of her head all the way down to her ankle, and then I would go back to the top, down to her ankle, and I did this repetitively for 20 minutes. And as we were working on you know, the area specific, after I did the meridian work, I just started tonating with the orange light just over the body. So all I was doing was just, you know, tonating the light over that area of the body where the spasm was. And then we got into a discussion about relationships, because when I'm looking at the back, that has to do with past, and because it was in the heart chakra area, to me it was relating to a past emotional issue. And she proceeded to tell me that she had ran into an ex-boyfriend, and she told me the whole story. And there I was working on the orange, and I could actually see, you know, the spasm starting to lessen and lessen and lessen. And sure enough, after I did the counterbalance, which I'm going to talk about in a few minutes, she got off my table and literally stood erect and went, the spasm's gone. So when I work with light therapy, I also bring in the component of the emotional, mental, and spiritual healing. So this we're addressing the problems that relate to the physical problem, because we already know scientifically all physical problems are resultant of an emotional, mental, and spiritual issue. So again, we want to work with light therapy as much as we can on that holistic level. Now, I don't think we're going to have time to go through everything in detail. We're already halfway through the program, but every color, I'm just going to sort of talk about some basics. So we know that on a spiritual level, you know, orange helps with positivity. It's that cheerful energy. It is also health promoting. Again, it has a lot of regenerative qualities, and in fact, when people have brown spots on the face, orange can help reverse those brown spots. So I like to think that one of the reasons why I'd like to think that I look younger than other women my age, but I do use a lot of orange light therapy on my face. And in fact, I keep the orange light in my Chromalife, because in the morning, as I'm driving with my partner to work every day, I'm actually doing an orange treatment on my face. And this morning was no different. I was using the orange light on my face. And orange helps, like the red, to pop out those wrinkles, because it gives life force to those organs that are a little bit tired. Orange, red, yellow are those stimulating energies. Now, orange, because it helps to promote oxygen intake, then again it can support the lungs and other areas that work with our respiratory system. Orange also helps with the lymphatic system. And I remember, and this isn't to do with the light therapy, but I remember one of my clients telling me that when she got out of an orange color bath, because one of my healing protocols is having people bathe in the energy, and she got out of the orange color bath, she said after about a half hour in the bath water turned black, because orange will help to release toxicity from the lower digestive system. So what happened was she was releasing toxins through her skin, which is also a connection to the orange energy. Okay, onwards to yellow. Yellow is, again, a warming color, and it is a lighter energy. And so therefore it has that weightlessness, that sunny, cheering disposition behind it. It's not as dominating as red, and it's so therefore, you know, it has that not the power of red heat, but that moderation of a warming hue. Sort of like when you're in, you know, the sun and the degrees are like, you know, 23 degrees Celsius or around, you know, 70 degrees Fahrenheit. It's a nice warming color, but it's not hot. If we're talking 100 degrees or, you know, 30 degrees Celsius, that would be more that red stimulation. And physically, it helps support the autonomic nervous system, the glandular system, the lymphatic system, and a lot of our lymphatic glands are within that orange area of the sacral center. And it encourages the lower digestive system, and it helps to kill worms, promotes secretion, activates the mucous membranes, strengthens the nerves, and it influences the liver, parenchyma. I don't know if I said that right, but nonetheless, it does that too. Okay, green. Now green is a neutral color, and we often counterbalance a stimulating or a sedating treatment with the green or turquoise energy. And there's a reason for that madness, okay? Because once we inject a stimulating or sedating color into an organ, we want to make sure that that organ doesn't end up being too hyperactive or too hypoactive resultant of the treatment. Because one of the things with light therapy, the light will continue to travel in your energy matrix, or you know, on your energy matrix lines, because that's what light does. It just travels. And, you know, think of electricity traveling. This is what we're talking about. So the energy will continue to work in the body even after you complete the treatment. And again, I remember another story where my girlfriend came over, and I did an orange treatment, you know, anti-aging treatment on her face. And after a half hour, I could actually see the wrinkles starting to, you know, disappear. And, you know, she was looking at her face after and going, well, I don't know if I see too much. And I went, well, you know, I was witness, so I could see that things had improved. So when she left my house, it took her a half hour to get home, and I guess as she was driving home, she kept looking at herself in the mirror, her rear view mirror, and by the time she got home, she phoned me up and she goes, Suze, my face just looks incredible. I could actually now see how different it is, where the wrinkles have popped out. And again, it was because a half hour after, the color frequency was still doing its magic. And I love that, because again, we have to understand that, you know, light therapy knows no boundaries of space and time, and so therefore it can continue to work even after a treatment. But we do want to counterbalance with green or turquoise, because again, we want to make sure it ends up in that neutral level, because I don't want to take an organ that's, you know, depleted of energy, and next thing you know, the person becomes hyperactive because we did an overstimuli. So we want to balance it by using, green or turquoise light after. Okay. And green is a combination of the warm yellow and the cold blue, and this is one of the reasons why it's neutral. And if we look at nature, there's an abundance of green in nature, because again, that is that balancing energy. And spiritually, it creates that calmness, that relaxation. It brings that regenerative properties. I always think about in nature, if you look at, you know, a new sprig of a you know, a branch or a, you know, a leaf, it comes out as that lime beautiful green, and as it matures it becomes that beautiful balancing green, and as that leaf ages it becomes a darker green. So we can actually see that transgression in nature with color energy. Physically, it creates cerebral balance, stimulates the pineal gland, stimulates the building of new muscles, tissues. It's also cleansing when it's a little bit on that lime green frequency. And one of the things about the Chromalife LightPen light, you can double up filters. So for example, I've got the red filter here, and if I take the yellow filter and put them together and put them in here, even though I do have a orange lens, and I turn it on, you can see it's still quite red, but it's now a little bit more in the orange, you know, hue. So we can mix colors to get other color frequencies. And also too, the way you put the filter in will actually have a bit of an effect on how bright it is. So obviously the red filter was first, and so therefore the orange was a little bit more red, but if you switch the filters, then you'll see a little bit of a subtle shift there. Okay, and turquoise. Now, because of the fact certain colors are harder to represent or replicate in light therapy, and because I have a printing background, there's a certain shade of blue called cyan blue that you cannot reproduce in the film industry. And so therefore, with light therapy, that indigo is really hard to replicate because it turns into that sort of cooling color. So Oramed has put a turquoise in place of the indigo, even though I will use magenta blue together, or magenta, or pardon me, red blue together to get different shades of purple. But turquoise is also a very color that, or is a color that's neutralizing, and we refer to it as the optimal color frequency, and it is really supportive of the thymus gland, which is considered the 8th chakra. And again, it helps with the body's immunity. And you can see here that it is neutral, balancing, calming. It brings spiritual, mental breakthrough. And also the turquoise merges the blue communication with the heartfelt energy of the heart chakra. So it is heartfelt communications. And in fact, I use turquoise when people stutter, because sometimes when people stutter, it's because they're trying to get their emotions out, and it's a difficult thing to do. When they use the turquoise energy, it can actually help reduce stuttering. Spiritually, it's more calming than green. It works on an internal level, and likewise on a physical level, it helps with the metabolism, and it controls, supports brain activity. It strengthens the skin. It rebuilds burned skin, and it's balancing. And blue, of course, is in the turquoise hue. So sometimes when we're looking at, you know, secondary colors, or, you know, a third generation color, then we're going to get attributes from the primary colors. And blue, we're starting now to go into the cooling color. So blue has a naturally cooling effect. Now, if I'm just going to take a little break here, I need a sip of water. Okay, I needed that. My mouth was getting quite parched. So blue has that cooling aspect to it. It's also astringent. Indigo's even more of an astringent. And one of my teachers in my metaphysical studies actually had a cyst in her breast, and she would tonate every day with the blue light. And after 3 weeks, the cyst totally dissolved itself, because when we work with astringent colors can take masses and reduce them. So again, anything in that cooling color or the cooling color range would be more of an astringent. Now, blue out of all the colors is the most quieting, and I could tell you, you know, things that I have people do with the Chromalife. If you actually put the blue light in and tonate your brow chakra here, It will activate your pineal gland, and it will help you with sleep disorders. So for anybody who's got problems sleeping, just put the blue light, into your brow chakra region here, and it will actually quiet and calm down your pineal gland to, again, secrete the melatonin to help with your sleep. And blue impedes any growth. It helps to bring recovery, relaxation, and as I mentioned, to help with sleep. And it helps with itching. And this is, going back to my mother, shining the blue light on her batch of eczema. It was so itchy, and she was having a hard time not scratching it, and you could see it was raw and red and inflamed, and that blue light just calmed it right down, cooled down the heat. And sometimes you can even see the color shifting while using the light therapy. Wow, yeah, blue is, I use a lot of blue because whenever people have pain or problems right away, I'm using blue because blue will help to dull the sensation of the pain. And again, it'll calm down any aggression and inflammation that will be the cause of pain. So on the bile pulsar, because I've done thousands and thousands of scans, wherever I see red, right away I'm treating with blue. Okay, onward to the violet and magenta slide. So this is a mixture of opposite poles. We're using blue with the red color. Now magenta has more red in it than blue, where violet is 50-50 of red and blue in color hue. And so therefore, when we're using that magenta filter, it has that heat in it, but it's also calming and cooling. And it helps to weaken the coldness, and it dampens the fire in Chinese medicine, and it represents grandeur and loftiness. So you don't want to use too much of the high frequency colors when people are ungrounded. That's when we would use, the hues of red, orange, and yellow, which are more of the grounding elements. Now, also, magenta is purifying to the blood. So if we use the magenta light in the blood, it will help to purify the blood. So for anybody who's got sluggish blood or thick blood, toxic blood, the magenta will actually help on the purification level. And as we go more into, understanding color therapy, I have protocols that I've set out, and these are some of the tools that I'm going to be sharing with the Chromalife owners, in regards to making sure that you're following up with the client, or at the time that you're doing the Chromalife treatment, giving them information so they understand some of the shifts that can be happening. And I'll just sort of jump ahead a bit and explain what it is that I mean here. So when you're doing color light therapy, I actually have a treatment protocol sheet where you would fill in what organs or what part of the body or what chakras you're treating, what color you're using, what color you're using for counterbalance, the reason, and any reactions that the client has. So this is a great form to use in a treatment. But this is a treatment checklist. Oh, that's not the one I wanted to talk about. Hold on, I'm going to talk about that in a minute here. Okay, I've got a few sheets here I'm going to be talking about. This is it. So this is the follow-up sheet to what can happen during a treatment. And this is something you can give your client. And like I said, brand new handout, just made it in the past couple weeks. And I was waiting to talk about it during this class so you can, understand some of the support materials you get as a Chromalife owner. But this is for the client to note how they felt before the treatment on a scale of 1 to 5, how they felt after the treatment on a scale of 1 to 5. Did they notice any reduction of pain right away? Did they notice anything mentally, emotionally, spiritually? Because again, I do everything holistically. It's amazing after treatment what people feel. They'll have epiphanies about breakthroughs, that they've had in regards to that color or that chakra. And then I go on to ask about different aspects of things that they may have noticed in the past 24 or 48 hours after treatment. So then what I do is I follow up with the client a couple days later to go over the sheet with them, so that way, again, they'll understand that the color therapy treatment actually worked. Because if we don't follow up with clients or have them be aware of things, they may not note things that actually was part of the healing journey. One of the most common things that happen after a light therapy treatment, which again, people don't think about, is people will actually purge. and they'll purge in the form of either having to go to the bathroom a lot, and it could be number 1 or number 2, but all of a sudden their bowel movements become more frequent, and they may experience diarrhea, or again just more bowel movements in general. But I list a whole bunch of reactions that can happen after a light therapy treatment, such as a better sleep, or a stronger appetite. Again, I list all these things here. And then I also have a little category here of things to do after treatment. To me, this is really important. For example, that people drink a lot of water after treatment, because again, if the body's releasing stored toxins, whether it is physical toxins, emotional, mental, or spiritual toxins, water is used as an element of purification. It helps to pull the toxins out of the body. Okay, and then plus I list other things that people can do after a treatment. Okay, moving forward. How to treat using light therapy. First, you have to assess the situation. Now, when you purchase the Chromalife, I have different things that I provide you with, but first and foremost, you want to ask the client why they're there. Are we treating a physical issue, or is there something going on mentally, emotionally, or spiritually, or a combination of our holisticness? Now, once we know what we're going to be treating, and again, I give this sheet so you can mark down what the client's coming to you for. And these are things that you can make a copy of, or duplicate somehow. And then you want to figure out, okay, am I treating the hands, the feet, the top of the head, the scalp, the face, or are you doing over the body, or are you going to be working on the chakras? So you have to kind of define your treatment protocol. Then you prepare for the treatment, and this was the other sheet that I just quickly showed, but it's a list of everything you should be doing before a treatment, okay? And I create these things because these are the things that I naturally do because I'm a practitioner and this is my training. However, if you're new to light therapy or new to doing, treatment protocols, it's just different things that you can do. Preparing yourself. What do you do to prepare yourself before you work on someone else? And I remember I put this incredible guy on the biopulsar who actually bought the biopulsar, one of our owners, and he had this beautiful energy. And I said to him, this tells me that you're doing things for yourself. And he said, Susanne, before I work on any client, I spend 4 hours on myself every morning before I take on patients. Wow, I thought that was incredible that he worked on himself for 4 hours. I'm working on myself all the time too, but I don't dedicate 4 hours in the morning before I work on clients. But I just thought, my goodness, no wonder your aura, your health of your organs were incredible. And his chakras just were amazing. All his chakras were strong. Now his brow and his crown were in the 90s. Like really, this guy was, very advanced on a spiritual level. But nonetheless, things that you do for yourself, things that you do to prepare the room, things that you do to prepare the client for the energy intake. And I'm going to touch on that in a minute. But I have this checklist because, again, it's important for me that you're doing these things, as a practitioner, that you're preparing your space, okay? So once you assess the situation, you have to then, further to that, you have to assess what organs you're going to treat, as well as how you're going to be treating the client. And there's several ways we get to determine. So the first thing, again, we're asking a client, why are you here? If they have pain, that's the first thing I'm going to treat. Regardless of what else I want to do, I want to get rid of the pain because nobody deserves to be in pain. We want to resolve that as quickly as possible. We can also learn a lot from the client. I have a 5-page chakra coded, the only one in the world that is so detailed to the system networks, to the chakras. It's a 5-page client intake form that I give you that also, because of the way it's designed, it helps you break down where you need to focus for doing a light therapy treatment. I also do a physical examination. So if somebody tells me, geez, I have knee pain, I want to see the knee. I want to see if it's red. I want to see if it's white. I'm actually looking at that part of the body to see the condition. Also, we sell the book, Let There Be Light. If you do not have this book and you're doing color therapy of any form, you got to get this book. This was the first book I ever purchased because at the time we didn't have Color Energies book translated in English. And there's a method to the madness in this book, but you can look up over 300 illnesses and it will tell you the association of what organs you'll be treating. Now, Darius Dinshaw, of course, when he wrote this book, or the information based on this book, it was in the early 1900s. Now, of course, we didn't have the biopulsar at that time, and nor did we have the level of understanding of the physical body. So it is a little bit old in its material, and this is why I use this in conjunction with a biopulsar scan, because then if somebody tells me they have this illness or problem, I look it up, I look at what organs are associated with it, then I look at my biopulsar scan and I note what organs are mentioned in Let There Be Light that correspond to energy deficiencies that I see in the organs and glands that I just measured on the biopulsar. Okay? Also, if you're trained in other forms of diagnosis, like doing a pulse examination or muscle testing, those are other ways that you can also get to the information. I'm showing you what we get on the biopulsar in regards to the color diagnosis. So you're going to see a picture here just momentarily. Here we go, on screen, of every organ and gland and the frequency in color of the organ. So if I, for example, see that the pineal gland is white, then I know I am going to sedate it, because white is the fastest frequency. So therefore I know I am going to treat with a color that is its polar opposite. And in fact, any color would help to bring the pineal gland from the white down to a lower frequency. Now, the general rule of thumb is that, we'll often start with blue, because blue is a few degrees less than white, so it's a little bit more stabilizing than white. Okay, now if I look at another organ, for example, the small intestine, we can see that it is a dirty red. So it's a low frequency, meaning that the small intestine is barely functioning. And because it's dirty, this tells me that there's toxins in the small intestine. Whatever's going on, it is tainted, it is polluted, it is dirty. So first, I know I'm going to treat the small intestine because it's red. I know it's hot and it's aggressive. I'm going to treat with blue light. And again, because I have my Chromalife hand chart, which is also in the accompanying booklet, there's a hand chart that comes with your Chromalife pen light. However, I also give you a chart that I created that breaks down every organ and gland on the hand as being measured on the biopulsar. But again, you can just apply that whether you have the biopulsar or not. So I know exactly where the small intestine zone is on the hand. So then I will put in the blue light into my Chromalife pen light, and I will then tonate on that specific area of the hand. And again, if I know where the small intestine is in the body, then I can treat directly over that area of the body. Okay? So this color analysis is gold. This to me is why I love the biopulsar. Yes, I'm getting that diagnosis. Yes, I'm getting the chakra flow. Yes, I'm getting, all this great information, but to see the colors of every organ and gland, that to me is the deepest healing we can do. There's so many systems that are out there that literally will, put a vibration into the body. But first and foremost, you often don't see what the color frequency is. You don't know the electrical charge of that organ. The machine is telling you what to do, so you're not seeing it for yourself. Here, we're actually seeing the constitution of the organ. And that color tells us so much psychosomatic information. It tells us so much information on a health level. Going back to the small intestine, I know that that dark, dirty red energy is telling me that the blood in that area is dirty, that that organ is dirty. Something is causing stress on that organ. So then I know that I'm going to work on a nutritional level. I know I'm going to work on a color frequency level. I'm going to irradiate that organ with the blue light, because I want to clean it up. I want to get rid of the toxicity. I want to cool it down. Okay, similarly, the pineal gland was white, so I want to use a color frequency that's going to help bring that pineal gland down. And because I know the pineal gland is hyperactive, when I'm going through my 5-page client intake form, I'm going to look at whether or not they have problems with sleep. Because I will tell you that often you're going to see things such as, people are experiencing dizziness, that they're flighty, that they're having a hard time concentrating, because I can see on the biopulsar 3 specific organs are white. That's too much excess energy in the brain that can be causing a disturbance. So when I'm looking at this color chart, I'm looking at every organ and I'm deducing how I'm going to help this client based on this. There's no other system that shows you every color. This is what Edgar Cayce was talking about when he was talking about energy medicine of the future. It's all about the color. Okay, guys? I can't even drill this into your head enough. Seriously. Okay. Now on the next slide, if you have the biopulsar, you can even get the corresponding software, and I don't have enough time to go into all the details of the software, but you can see that it will show you specifically what area on the hand or face you would use based on the color. So in this case, we can see that the organ that we're treating is the pancreas, which is in this area on the face here, and in this area on the hand, and we would be using the color orange or red. I think I should have made them both orange or both red, but again, just for this presentation, we're using a warming color on that zone because obviously the diagnosis on the biopulsar was that the pancreas zone was hyperactive. So now we need to treat with a slower vibration to reduce the hyperactivity in that organ. So Auramed has this incredible software that goes into so much information on how you can do Chromalife therapy, and you don't have to think about it. It's all there for you. It's all on screen. I like to teach people how to use the Chromalife from scratch because there's a lot more when we're working on a healing level that we have to do based on a lot more information. Okay, now the next slide is teaching how to do a chakra treatment. Now, because of COVID, we're unfortunately not doing any in-house classes, but that being said, we're going to start teaching remote classes, meaning that, if you're interested in learning more about Chromalife therapy and you'd like to take the hands-on class, we're going to be doing it remotely. And so one of the things I teach is how to treat the chakras with light therapy. And again, there's a couple different ways you can do it. One would be, working with the energy frequency of that chakra, because if there's an issue, we need to treat light with light. And what I mean by that is, if you have an issue of anger, then we need to work with the red energy because the red energy is all about anger. Okay, now I can treat with blue to calm down the anger, but the issue is still in the red frequency itself. So when we use the red energy, then what we're doing is we're treating that emotional blockage or issue with the issue of that color. Does that make sense? Okay, so again, this is, takes a bit of understanding when you're first doing a color therapy, how you can treat. Now, also, I can use a pendulum or muscle testing to determine what color I might treat in an organ and specifically in that chakra zone. But typically we would treat that chakra when we're doing a chakra balancing with the associated color. And whenever I do a light therapy treatment, I always I lubricate the zone first with essential oils or essences. So for example, if I'm doing a red treatment, in this region here, because maybe the hips are out of alignment or, other issues that pertain to organ zones, and usually I'll just get the client to spread the oils on both hands because I'm always going to treat both hands. And then in this case, I'm using a red oil and I'm treating the root chakra with red light, and I want to show you how dynamic this is, how vibrant that color is when I'm doing the light therapy. And so I'm just taking that light therapy and I'm working the whole root chakra zone on the hand. And of course, if I'm doing the light therapy on the chakra, then what I'm doing is I'm applying the red oil on the root chakra first. I also like to work with my professional stones. So I'll take my root chakra stone, place it on the root chakra area, and you can do it on top of clothes or underneath, or directly on the body. It depends on what kind of practitioner you are. A lot of my clients, I have them stripped down to their skivvies, throw them on the table, and I'm working directly on the body. But you can also work on top of clothing. Just make sure that the client is wearing neutral clothing. And sometimes I'll actually have clients roll up their top, and so then that way, I still get some exposure to the skin. But literally that's how we do a basic chakra balancing. But when we teach the class, we go into a lot more details about how to do that chakra balancing, because there's a lot more we can do when we're doing light therapy chakra balancing. Okay. Now on the next page, I just want to talk a little bit about products, because I mentioned earlier that I always prepare my space before the client comes in. I prepare myself, I prepare the client when they come in, and then, I also work with these different tools that will increase the vitality of the treatment. So the first thing I do is I always spray my space with Aura Cleanser. This is really important, because when you spray the area with Aura Cleanser, you're getting rid of anything that's in the atmosphere that could be invisible to the naked eyes, that could be hindering any treatment. Then I spray myself. I bless my own auric field with energy, because I want to make sure my own energy field has no what I call Klingons in it, because EMFs, cell phone rays, radio waves, there's all these invisible frequencies that can be harming my auric field or lowering my auric field. So I like to always cleanse my auric field. And just so you know, I have this on my desk. I'm using it all the time. I have bottles in the bathroom. I have one on my dresser by my bed. I have one in my living room. I clean my aura constantly, because if I'm watching TV, I want my aura to sparkle and shine after I watch TV. If I'm on my phone, then again, I'm using the Aura Cleanser. If I'm in front of the computer, I'm using the Aura Cleanser. I'm always doing space clearing. So many people are ungrounded. So many people have energy congestion and they don't realize it. This is my #1 product for so many reasons. I love this stuff. So I use my chakra oils and essences. So when we do chakra balancing, if I'm doing the root chakra, I can spray the red essence above the client's head. I can anoint their chakras with chakra light essences or red coated oils, which, by the way, we're the only company in the world that works with the frequencies of essential oils. So all our formulas are chakra coded, because all issues are related to the chakras. Okay, you have headaches, that's an indigo issue. Okay, you have stomach problems, that's going to be a yellow solar plexus issue. So we color code the oils that go in every bottle, so we strengthen the treatment. And why do we do all this? Well, guess what? We're using the color frequency that's amplified by the crystal. Then by anointing the chakra or the organ, we're preparing for the energy intake. So within 15 seconds, an oil or an essence is in your bloodstream. So we're further amplifying the energy by doing all these different things. And you want to sell these tools to your clients if you're a practitioner. And if you're not a practitioner, you should be using these tools. And if you're a practitioner, you should be using these tools. This is my day. I'm constantly working with energy, because I want to live a long life and a healthy life. I don't want to get to my 90s and have all these health issues. I'm doing everything as preventative medicine. Now, if you're doing reflexology with your pen light, then you could even use the color bath and create a foot bath of color. So in the time that the client is soaking their feet, they're getting charged with a color vibration. Or if you do other treatments, you can have the client's hands soaking in to the water. And when I do Chromalife treatments in my office, I actually have a face cloth that I put on my lap. If I'm doing the hand treatment, I get the client then to put their hand on my lap, or I can have it put it on theirs, and then I'm a little bit hunched over. Whatever you want, whatever is your comfort. And then I put my oils on their hand, and then I do the light therapy treatment. So again, I teach all these protocols when you take our training. Okay, so next slide. Okay, so essential oils carry the plant of, or the essence of that plant, so it's always color coded. So I just gave an example here that lavender oil comes from a violet flower, thus it's the frequency of the violet energy. So if I'm doing any treatment in that violet or magenta frequency, then I'm using possibly lavender oil or our violet energy blend or anything violet in nature that will support that treatment. And I already talked about the aura cleanser, and I just wanted to touch on the gemstones because a lot of times people don't realize that in gemstones are the earth's elements. So for example, red tiger's eye actually has iron in it, and sometimes you'll see that shiny strip of, it almost looks like a gray color. That is that iron or element that's in that gemstone. We could also have the client wearing color therapy eyewear. We could take them through a visualization. If we're doing a chakra balancing, we can have them, you know, focusing on their breath work, reciting an affirmation. And again, even though I'm talking about practitioners, you can do this yourself. Whenever I'm doing my own Chromalife treatment, so let's just say I'm doing a red treatment on my hand, I'm actually saying, I am strong, I am healthy, I am vital. My body is strong, I'm motivated, I'm driven. I'm actually reciting the words. And if you don't know, you're a novice, or even if you're not a novice, one of the other charts that we have and we sell is our color energy chart. And I absolutely love this. I have it, I think, over here. Here we go. I love this chart because it goes into all these words that are associated with every color. So this way you can literally recite these words off as you're doing your own treatment. This is really important that we do these visualizations and affirmations. Every morning we should be kickstarting our day with, you know, color energy, getting ourselves all revved up for our day. Okay, there's exercises that connect to the colors, foods that connect to the color, music. I just actually had one of my practitioners, she might be here today, that mentioned that she could feel sensations as she was listening to our chakra CD. We have a Through the Chakra CD, and every song has elements of that color frequency embedded in layers and layers and layers. There's the mantra, yantra, the seed cell, you know, the beat, the note, oh, I can't even tell you, but there's just so much of layering in this music. There is no chakra CD like this, okay? Most people who create chakra CDs don't know as much about chakras as we do, so our chakra CD is really a magnificent CD, and we're hoping to get it out as an MP3 clips later on. But anyways, so in a nutshell, I've kind of taken you through a journey of color. My other video that is already online that teaches the Chromalife talks more about specific treatments. This one I didn't get into that so much so, but I just wanted to give you an introduction of light therapy on a different level than I did in my last CD. And I want to just go on to the next slide to show you our Chromalife course. It is $297 investment, and so if you have the pen light, or if you're planning on getting into light therapy, this is an add-on, as well as I highly recommend the Let There Be Light book. And for those of you who have signed up, I'm going to be sending you an email after with a little promo for the Chromalife course if you're interested. Okay, and if you're new to color energy, next slide. If you're new to color energy, visit our YouTube channel to learn more. We've got, I think we've got on our 2 YouTube channels, we've got something like 60 or 70 videos now available on different topics of color energy. You know, and if you're new to color energy, we do have a shopping site, colorenergyshop.com. And please, I'm always asking people to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Click that little bell so you get notifications of any new videos that we do. I'm doing a whole bunch of videos that aren't classes, but just little videos of education. So you'll get notifications automatically on your phone, or, you know, on your computer that tells you when we've posted something new. And please like and comment. We need to get our rating up because we can do a lot more for free if we can get our rating up. So I'm asking you for your support on that. Okay, so we're just a little bit over 4 o'clock. Like usual, I try to keep all my classes to an hour, but I'm so full of information that I'm just blah, 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 I'm just trying to get it all out to you guys. Because my goal is to just teach you more about the color language, and we do have all these additional training programs and tools that are available to you. I hope you support us with, purchasing color energy products.